But before she could protest, her mother-in-law threw the phone on the hard marble floor. Crack! Miracle gasped as she saw the screen shatter. Her heart broke. All her work gone. Miracle bent down and picked up the phone, her hands shaking. Mrs. Monica scoffed. I warned Vincent not to marry a low-class girl, but he refused to listen. Now, see the kind of nonsense you're doing. Vincent, who had just walked in, looked at the scene with mild interest. What's going on? Ejiro grinned. Your wife has been filming herself cleaning and cooking. She wants to become a YouTube housemate. Vincent turned to Miracle. You, a content creator, since when? Miracle looked at him, her throat tight. Since he wouldn't support her, she had decided to support herself. You? He let out a short laugh. A content creator? Ejiro and Mrs. Monica joined in, laughing like she had just cracked the funniest joke in the world. Miracle's face burned with humiliation. Vincent shook his head. So, this is what you've been wasting your time on? Instead of trying to improve yourself, you're busy filming how to clean floors and cook soup? Do you think anyone cares to watch a poor girl like you scrubbing a house you don't even own? Tears pricked Miracle's eyes, but she refused to let them fall. Mimi the housemaid, that should be the name of your channel. Ejiro turned to her mother. Mommy, you better make sure she's not filming us. What if she starts using us to make money? Mrs. Monica snorted, as if anybody would waste their data watching her nonsense. Vincent smirked. Honestly, Miracle, if you were smart, you would have found a way to enjoy this rich life instead of acting like a desperate villager. Or is it that you miss suffering? Should I buy you a bucket and some sachet water so you can sell by the roadside? Since you love hard work so much, their laughter echoed through the mansion. Miracle clenched her jaw. This was the man she had once loved, the man who had pursued her, promised her the world and taken her innocence. And now he stood there, mocking her like she was nothing. She looked at them all, Vincent, his mother, and his sister. She simply walked away without a word. She sat in the dimly lit bedroom, feeling the weight of everything crash down on her. The insults, the mockery, the constant humiliation. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to cry. But this wasn't the same kind of crying she used to do. This was grief. Grief for the life she had imagined when she married Vincent. Grief for the dreams she had convinced herself would come true. Grief for the person she used to be, the naive girl who believed that love could fix everything. A knock on the door made her quickly wipe her face. It was her husband. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, watching her. So, what now? No more YouTube dreams? Or are you going to borrow money from your fellow poor friends to buy another phone? She said nothing. Vincent chuckled. Miracle. When will you realize that some people are just meant to be nothing? You're one of them. No matter how hard you try, you'll never be on my level. He turned to leave, then paused. I hope this means you'll stop embarrassing yourself. Maybe now you'll focus on being a proper wife instead of acting like a desperate social media girl. The door shut behind him. Miracle sat still, staring at the broken phone in her hands. She had lost everything. But one thing remained, her will. The next morning, she went about her chores as usual. She cooked, cleaned, and endured the usual sneers from Ejiro and Mrs. Monica, but inside she was making a plan. Later that day, when she was sure everyone was busy, she slipped out of the mansion with her phone tucked in her wrapper. She walked for a long time before she found a repair shop in a quieter part of town. The technician looked at the phone, shook his head, and told her it would cost more than she expected. Miracle's heart sank. But she didn't hesitate. She reached into her bag and brought out the little money she'd been keeping. It was meant to be sent home to her family, but she knew this was her only chance. She handed over the money, watching as the technician nodded and got to work. By the next day, she had her phone back. It wasn't perfect. The cracks were still there, and some buttons didn't work properly, but the screen lit up. The apps opened. The camera worked. That was all she needed. She returned to the mansion, went straight to her room, and resumed her editing. Miracle continued posting, careful not to raise suspicion. She woke up earlier than usual to edit her videos before anyone else was awake. At night, while the mansion was quiet, she scheduled her uploads. One morning, as she checked her phone, she saw thousands of notifications. Her heart pounded as she opened her YouTube app. One of her recent videos, "A Day in My Life as a Wife," had gone viral. 100,000 views. Then another. "Cleaning a mansion alone, my daily struggles," had even more. 200,000 views. The comments poured in. People loved her authenticity, her hard work, and her resilience. And then an email came. She had met YouTube's monetization requirements. Shaking with excitement, Miracle knew it was time to secure her future. She couldn't let anyone, especially Vincent, find out. So, late at night, when everyone was asleep, she researched everything about receiving international payments. She discovered she needed a DOM account to receive her YouTube earnings. The next day, she went to the bank. She filled out the forms, provided the necessary details, and within days, her DOM account was active. Now, she had a way to receive her payments without anyone knowing. She returned home that day with a new fire in her heart. Miracle's channel was growing faster than she ever imagined. Brands started reaching out. Some offered small deals. Others wanted her to review their products. Every dollar she earned went straight into her DOM account. She didn't touch the money, not yet. Instead, she kept posting. She shared cleaning hacks, cooking tips, and house organization tricks. She posted vlogs of her daily life, careful not to expose too much about Vincent's family. And people loved her. Her followers started calling her Mimi the Housewife. And soon, she had over 100,000 subscribers. With each viral video, her bank balance grew. Yet, in the mansion, nothing changed. Mrs. Monica and Ejiro still mocked her. They still called her a poor girl. They still treated her like a maid in her own home. Vincent barely noticed her anymore, and that was perfect. The less they paid attention to her, the more powerful she became. One evening, as she checked her bank balance, she almost gasped. Her first major YouTube payment had arrived. It was more money than she had ever seen in her life. She stared at the screen, heart pounding. She had done it, without begging, without crying, without anyone's help. And now she was no longer just Vincent's wife. She was Mimi, the housewife, the unstoppable woman. Miracle had been careful, very careful. With her first major earnings, she had quietly upgraded her phone. She needed better quality video. She filmed early in the morning before the household woke up and late at night when everyone was asleep. Her content was growing sharper, her storytelling stronger. Her audience adored her. But today, her luck ran out. Ejiro had been watching her for a while, suspicious of her silence and the way she was always on her phone. When she walked into the kitchen that afternoon and saw Miracle recording a cooking tutorial, she snapped, "So, this is what you've been doing, Abby." Ejiro folded her arms. "Is this why you're always pressing phone like a jobless rat? I thought Mommy and I told you not to post anymore. Miracle ignored her. She was done explaining herself to people who had already decided to hate her. Ejiro lunged forward, trying to grab the phone. Give me that thing. That was when something inside Miracle exploded. She grabbed the phone first, stepped back, and her voice rose like thunder. Ejiro, if you touch me again, I will show you that I be confirmed warrior. Ejiro froze. Miracle wasn't done. You think because I have been quiet, I be mumu? You think I don't know how to fight? Try me. If you ever try me again, I will beat you blue and black. Your mama no go recognize you. Ejiro staggered back, completely shocked. You are here insulting me. But why are you still in your father's house at over 30 years, eh? Because no man can stand your wickedness, lazy, vapid, useless. You don't cook, you don't clean, you just uselessly walk up and down spending your father's money. Ejiro's mouth fell open. She had never seen this side of Miracle before. Miracle took a deep breath. I have been keeping quiet all this time, especially for you. Don't ever try me again. Ejiro stormed out of the kitchen, shaking with anger and humiliation. She had to report this nonsense to her mother immediately. Ejiro practically ran to her mommy's room, bursting in like someone who had been attacked. Mommy! Mommy! Can you believe that thing insulted me? Mrs. Monica, who had been reading a magazine, looked up sharply. Which thing? That thing you call a daughter-in-law? That dirty poor girl. Ejiro fumed. She said I am over 30 and still in this house because no man can stand me. Me, mommy, me. Mrs. Monica sat up. She told me that if I try her again, she will beat me so much that even you won't recognize me. What did you just say? Ejiro was breathing hard now. Mommy, that girl has been forming innocent all this while. You needed to see the way she was shouting. She has been pretending. Mrs. Monica's face darkened with rage. Where is she? Where is that ungrateful thing? Ejiro folded her arms. I don't know where she is. Mrs. Monica stood up. This girl has no respect. She comes from the gutter and now wants to open her mouth to insult my daughter. She grabbed her phone and dialed Vincent immediately. Vincent, come home right now. That your wife needs to be sent out of this house today. Vincent rushed home after receiving his mother's call. The tone of her voice was sharp, filled with anger. He had barely stepped into the mansion when Mrs. Monica stormed towards him, Ejiro right behind her. Your wife has finally shown her true colors, Mrs. Monica yelled. Vincent sighed tiredly. What did she do this time? Ejiro jumped in. She insulted me. She called me lazy, said no man can marry me, and even threatened to beat me. Vincent immediately frowned. Miracle said that. Yes, Ejiro hissed. She has been pretending all this time. Mrs. Monica folded her arms. She has no respect. Vincent, I don't want that girl in my house anymore. Send her out. Vincent nodded immediately. He didn't even ask to hear Mimi's side of the story. Where is she? They all turned towards the hallway where Miracle was standing, arms folded, watching them like she already knew how this would play out. She wasn't shocked. She wasn't even sad, because she had always known Vincent would never stand up for her. She had once believed he loved her, but now she knew the truth. He had never fought for her, never defended her, and now he was standing before his mother, waiting for permission to throw her out. Miracle didn't say a word. Vincent finally spoke. Mimi, go and pack your things. She almost laughed. Pack her things and go where? Did they think she had nowhere to go? She wasn't the same girl they had been humiliating for months. But she didn't respond. She simply watched Vincent, the man she once loved, as he stood before his mother like a little boy waiting for approval. A man who couldn't even make a decision without his mother's permission. But this time, she wasn't begging. She wasn't crying. because she had planned for this day. She had her own money now. She had her own house now. Miracle slowly crossed her arms and stared at Vincent, his mother, and Ejiro. "Pack my things and go?" she chuckled. "Vincent, you are a complete idiot." Vincent's face twisted in anger. "Mimi, don't push me." "Oh, or what? You will beat me," Miracle hissed, stepping closer. "I have been a good wife, a respectful wife. I have cleaned, cooked, and suffered in this house like a slave. Your mother and sister treat me like a nobody, and you stand there like an overgrown baby waiting for your mother's approval to throw me out? God will punish you, Vincent." Mrs. Monica gasped loudly. "Miracle, how dare you speak to my son like that?" Miracle clapped her hands mockingly. "Your son? This your useless son with no get sense? Let me tell you something, madam. Your son is a disgrace to manhood, a weak, pathetic excuse of a husband." Ejiro stepped forward. "Who do you think you are, you? Shut up, Ejiro!" Miracle snapped. "You, a jobless 30-something-year-old living in your father's house, eating his money like a leech. You have never worked a day in your life. Your only achievement is bullying your brother's wife. May God punish you, too." Ejiro's mouth hung open. Mrs. Monica stamped her foot. "Vincent, throw this mad woman out." Miracle laughed coldly. "Throw me out? Vincent, before you open that your stupid mouth, should I tell your mother about Blessing?" Vincent froze. "What? Who is Blessing?" Ejiro frowned. "Blessing? That name sounds familiar." "Oh, it should, because your darling Vincent has been cheating on me with her." Mrs. Monica turned to Vincent in shock. "Vincent, is this true?" Vincent stammered. "Mommy, it's not." "Shut up, Vincent!" Miracle screamed. "For months, you have been sleeping with her, taking her out, buying her gifts, spending money on her. But when I asked you to set me up, you mocked me, right?" Mrs. Monica spun to face Vincent, slapping his shoulder. "Vincent, you are cheating on your wife?" Ejiro's eyes widened. "Wait, I remember now. Blessing is that girl from Lekki. She drives a Benz." Miracle smiled wickedly. "Yes, and guess what? She thinks Vincent is single. I have screenshots of their chats, pictures of them kissing, receipts of all the money he has sent her. Should I post it online?" "Mimi, don't do anything stupid," Miracle hissed. "You're the only stupid person here, Vincent. You and your useless family." Mrs. Monica was now shaking with rage. "Vincent, you useless boy. How dare you disgrace me like this?" Miracle laughed bitterly. "Oh, so now you're angry? But when he was treating me like trash, you were clapping for him. Madam, let me tell you, you raised a failure." Mrs. Monica rushed at Miracle, but Miracle stepped back. "Don't try me, old woman. Know what? You and your daughter are not worth my time." She picked up her handbag, raised her head high, and walked towards the door. Then she turned back and delivered her final blow. "Oh, and by the way, I don't buy house. I no need your dirty mansion again." And with that, she walked out, free. As Miracle stepped out of the mansion, she felt a wave of satisfaction wash over her. The same house where she had suffered, cried, and been humiliated was now behind her. She could still hear the chaos inside. Mrs. Monica was screaming at Vincent, raining curses on him for disgracing the family. Ejiro was shouting, asking how long he had been cheating. And Vincent? That fool was stammering, trying to explain himself. Miracle smiled. For the first time in a long time, she felt powerful. She had fought back. She had exposed the truth. And best of all, she had her own money, her own house, and her own future. The gate opened and she stepped out, walking confidently to the roadside. Her phone buzzed in her bag. She pulled it out and checked the message. "You have received $4,000 from YouTube." Her smile grew wider. "God, see my life now." Months ago, she had begged Vincent to set her up. He had mocked her. Now she was making her own money. She waved down a taxi and got in. "Where to, madam?" the driver asked. She took a deep breath and smiled. "To my new house." Months had passed, and Miracle's life had completely transformed. Her biggest dream had come true. She had successfully moved her family from Warri to live with her in her beautiful house. Her mother, father, and younger siblings were in awe of the mansion. "Mimi, now you get this house?" her father had asked when they arrived, looking around the spacious living room with tears in his eyes. "Yes, Papa, God did it." Her mother had hugged her, crying uncontrollably. "My daughter, I always knew you would make us proud." Now, Miracle sat in her beautifully decorated sitting room, scrolling through her latest content, millions of views, more money, more brand deals. Who would have thought? She whispered to herself, smiling. Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Debbie. Miracle opened the door and her best friend screamed with joy when she saw the house. "Mimi, my God, you really did it." Debbie ran inside looking around. "Sea levels, from suffering to soft life." Miracle laughed. "God is too much, my sister." They settled on the couch, drinking fresh juice as Miracle told her everything. How she had finally put Vincent, his mother, and Ejiro in their place. Debbie burst into laughter. "Mimi, I wish I was there. You should have recorded it for us online." Miracle giggled. "I swear, Debbie, their shock was priceless." Debbie shook her head. "It's good you finally spoke up. People become inconsiderate of you when you're too understanding. And look at you now, successful, rich, independent. I beg, I tap into this one." Miracle smiled. "This one is God and hard work combined." They clinked their glasses together. Life was sweet. Miracle was in her luxurious sitting room, sipping freshly squeezed orange juice and reviewing her latest content analytics. The engagement was through the roof, and brands were flooding her inbox with more endorsement deals. "God, you too much," she whispered with a smile. Just then, the security intercom buzzed. "Madam, some people they forget. Say they're your in-laws." Miracle burst into laughter. "My in-laws? Which in-laws?" "Madam, their names are Madame Monica, Madame Ejiro, and Mr. Vincent." Miracle nearly spilled her juice. So, the almighty Monica and her daughter Ejiro had come to beg? "Let them in," she said, smiling wickedly. The door opened and the three of them stepped inside, looking out of place. Mrs. Monica, the same woman who once called her a poverty-stricken village rat, was now standing in her house, looking uneasy. Ejiro, the same sister-in-law who once mocked her poverty, was shifting uncomfortably. And Vincent? He looked like a lost chicken, his confidence completely gone. "You people found my house? Impressive," she said coolly. Mrs. Monica cleared her throat. "Miracle, my daughter." "Daughter?" Miracle burst into laughter. "Madam, which daughter? I thought poor people like me don't belong to your family." Vincent cleared his throat. "Mimi, please." "Shh." She raised a finger, cutting him off. "Did I give you permission to speak?" Vincent swallowed hard. Mrs. Monica stepped forward. "Mimi, let the past go. We were wrong, I admit, but we are still family." Miracle let out a short, sarcastic laugh. "Family? Please, madam, don't insult me." "Which family? The one that called me a virus of poverty? The one that threw my phone and mocked my background? The one that slapped me? Or the one that treated me like a slave?" Ejiro stepped forward angrily. "Mimi, stop being dramatic. We're here because we want peace." Miracle turned to her sharply. "And who asked you to speak?" Ejiro's mouth clamped shut. Miracle smirked. "This is my house. You don't talk unless I tell you to." Mrs. Monica sighed deeply. "Miracle, I know we treated you badly, but we are here to apologize. We now see your worth. We now understand that you are a strong woman. Please, Come back home. Come back to us. Miracle leaned back in her chair, folding her arms. Come back to what? A family that only respects money? A husband that never defended me? A household where I was treated worse than a maid? Mrs. Monica forced a smile. You have to understand. In wealthy families like ours, we have standards. We only wanted the best for Vincent. Standards? You people think money makes you gods. Who are you to determine who can and cannot make it in life? She leaned forward, her tone turning sharp. If I was still poor, would you be here? The silence in the room was deafening. Ejiro looked away. Mrs. Monica sighed. Vincent finally spoke up. Mimi, I still love you. I made a mistake, but please, let's fix this. Miracle let out a mocking laugh. You love me? You that mocked me when I asked for help? You that sided with your mother over and over? You love me now that I am rich? Vincent, I beg, shift! Vincent looked hurt. Miracle, don't do this. Let's fix our marriage. Miracle shook her head. Which marriage? The one I left behind like expired bread. She stood up. Listen, all of you, let me make something very clear. I'm not coming back. I have moved on. I have grown. She turned to the security guard. Musa, escort them out. Musa stepped forward. Mrs. Monica looked shocked. Miracle, you dare throw us out? Miracle smiled sweetly. Yes, ma'am. The same way you threw me out of your house when you ordered Vincent to divorce me. Vincent looked desperate. Mimi, please. Miracle turned her back to them. Get out. Ejiro hissed angrily. Proud fool, we made a mistake coming here. Miracle chuckled. You really did, and you of all people should not talk. A woman who has never worked a day in her life but opens her mouth to insult others. As they left, Miracle exhaled deeply. She had finally won. The girl they mocked for being poor was now the woman they were begging, and she would never look back.